So, I mean, I don't know how many times I've had a fall like that, on a simple slope with a helmet on, banged my head. She's a vegetable, or she died.
I know.
There's a Formula One racer who he's a vegetable.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to
It's
him as Liam Neeson's wife. Simple, beginner slope, banged his head, had a helmet on.
Yep.
So yeah. So anyway, it's not. I just feel like for Liam Neeson to have that stolen away from him by fate.
I know.
For him, I hope they are happy. That's all I can say. For his sake, for her sake,
I know. I have a similar feeling. They seem so sweet and his story is so heartbreaking that you just want them to like find happiness with somebody. I fingers crossed for them. I think it's adorable.
So anyway. All right. Well, we got a lot to cover, and who do we have in this conversation? Yeah, it's just us, and I think Robert's here. So there's supposed to be one attendee, but I have not seen that person. So
Yep.
And I'm driving, so I'm off camera.
okay, that's cool.
Or-
Just so you know, Lauren, Robert is a sales X consultant that we've been working with. So he's just when he has a chance to see me try and sell, although he missed my all-star performance on Monday.
Dang it. That always happens, right? Where you're like, no, this is the one. Why did no one see it?
Oh my God, it was
Hi,
funny.
Robert. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
So just so you know, Robert, Lauren heads up business development for AdCellerant and deals with their enterprise clients. That's sort of the bulk of the work.
Yep.
And they are such a great resource. And she's also just a tremendous resource from a just sales standpoint. So I get to pick her brain occasionally about sales questions, which she's very helpful with. So anyway,
Excellent. Lauren, would love maybe to connect and chat sometime after this down the road.
Yeah, would love it. That would be great, Robert.
I'll make sure to introduce you guys.
Thank you.
Um, so and just as a heads up, so what I'm going to do, I've already done this, but what I'm going to do is we'll get to the end and hopefully we've got some time left. And I'm just going to prompt you with some questions from the audience
Perfect.
that you didn't know they already asked. But yeah, so I'm already so I'll ask like two or three of those, and it'll just give you, and I'll feed them to you.
Cool.
Let you take them, and it'll be like, how do we define success in omnichannel? How do you determine what channels are right for you? How do you tailor messaging without losing brand consistency? More of like, we're telling them what to do in this. These are going to be sort of how do you do that kind of questions. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Cool.
Because the plan is to make this a gated on-demand webinar.
Love it.
So
Perfect.
all right. That being said, all this stuff we're talking about now is going to get edited out.
Oh, dang. I really wanted our Pam Anderson, Liam Neeson
Yeah,
discussion
well, that's
too.
why I didn't mention the Tommy Lee video. So
Gosh.
And there's the edit point. Yeah.
Sorry, that's the one. If I was Liam Neeson, that's the one thing I'd be like, I don't know. Anyway, all right. So 1, 2, 3, action. So, okay, welcome everybody. Today we have Lauren Morrill as our guest. She is the Senior Vice President of Business Development from AdCellerant, one of our core partners, and an expert, as you'll learn, on omnichannel marketing. And our topic of today is omnichannel marketing. How do you use it for your business? So if you are new to digital marketing or you're feeling overwhelmed about getting your hands around it, if you need a plan, any of those kinds of questions, you are in the right place today. So thanks for attending. We are your hosts. I'm Dan Spink, and then Lauren is also here.
Hello.
The founder of Refract ROI. I do a lot of speaking, consulting, educating of people. I did 12 years in manufacturing as a strategist and product manager, and we've helped over 500 clients over the years. So Great to be here. And then I'll let Lauren introduce herself.
Yeah, thanks so much for the time, everyone, today. My name is Lauren Morell. I am the Senior Vice President for New Business, primarily on the enterprise side with Accelerant. My background is in performance digital marketing, so very familiar with omni-channel strategies and excited to chat with you all about them today.
And you've done all kinds of media and marketing, I mean, from on the client side and on the agency side, right?
Yes, with businesses of all sizes and types. And what I'm most excited to walk through today is how this framework can be applicable for all different types of businesses. I think this methodology is really foundational and helpful as you're devising your marketing strategies.
Yeah, and you use a term which I love, and I borrow, I don't steal, but I borrow, which is that you bring Madison Avenue to Main Street. And if there is anything that I mean, we talk about all different kinds of things in these webinars. I mean, SEO, PPC, strategy, planning, all these different kinds of things. But if you want to talk about bringing Madison Avenue to Main Street, today's conversation to me is as good an example of that of anything that we do. Would you agree? Because it takes this more holistic approach to the marketing questions that we all face. But we're going to talk about how are these new technologies enabling us as small, medium-sized businesses to function like big companies. Is that a fair description?
Yes, absolutely fair. And I think we'll talk about how the evolution of media ultimately brought us here and why this framework is so important in the current consumer landscape. But absolutely, these methodologies super beneficial depending on where you are in your marketing life cycle or the size of your business or what you're looking to accomplish. We are really going to help bring that sophistication and high level of Madison Avenue down to, again, all different types of businesses, and you can apply it in the best use case for your specific situation.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. So first, just want to encourage you to close all distractions. I've just turned off my phone. Hopefully it doesn't, no bells ring or strange things come through. But give yourself, an hour, 50 minutes to an hour to focus on this. And I think you'll find it extremely beneficial. What we're going to cover today is first, what is omnichannel marketing, just to ground us in what we're thinking about. Talk about the evolution of the customer journey, how that's changed over time. Look at how people engage with media, how they used to engage with media versus how we engage today. The evolution of marketing technology and how that facilitates what we're doing. Back to the whole bringing Madison Avenue to Main Street. Like, to me, the evolution of the technology in the last 5 to 7 years is literally what's done this.
Yep.
And then how do these changes help small, medium-sized companies, and then give you a high-level idea of how to execute your omni-channel marketing. So let's get started. We'll talk a little bit about what is omni-channel marketing. I like to ground all of these conversations in what I call the core marketing issue that faces every company. And that is that only 5 to 10% of your customers are buying right now. 90 to 95% of your total addressable market, the people that fit your ICP, are not buying. And you need to develop campaigns that market to both. And so, well, when an organization is doing a really sound job of marketing, they're probably spending 40 to 50% of their budget on the 5 to 10% that represent the active demand or the people buying right now or about to buy. They should be spending 50 to 60% on the 90 to 95% that have a latent need for what you do but aren't ready to buy yet. And the way to do that most efficiently is to use omni-channel marketing. So how does that look? Omni-channel marketing, or taking people on an omni-channel marketing journey, means you're doing the research messaging strategy at the top, but then you're using programmatic media of different types or paid social media where you're able to target the specific customer set that you want to go after and make sure that they know who you are. Bring them to your website where you have content that they can engage with, and you can then capture them in a way, whether it's email, phone, pixel on the browser, to track them, enable you to retarget or remarket to them, such that when it comes time for them to convert, they buy from you and they don't even look for searching online necessarily. For those companies, or for those customers that don't get captured in the top of the funnel types of activities and actually go to conversion, you still have campaigns ready to capture them at the sort of SEO or paid search level. But Doing it this way has been shown time and time again. You establish trust with the customer, which means you don't have price competition because they're not looking at other options. They close more quickly, so your close rate, your sales cycle shortens, and then they are more likely to prefer you, so your close rate will also go up. All of this working together means that you actually have a much higher return on investment when you use omni-channel marketing. And if there's anything you want to add to that, Lauren.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, Dan.
That's a first.
Tried to give you enough cover there to take
appreciate it.
one drink. Yes.
So what is omnichannel marketing? So you can do marketing with a bunch of different channels, and it's not omnichannel marketing. Lots of people do this, actually. Omnichannel marketing, and we call that multi-channel marketing. Omnichannel marketing differs from multi-channel marketing in that everything is coordinated in terms of the branding, the messaging, the positioning, who you're targeting across all of the channels, so that when the prospect engages with you on their phone, on the website, in social media, in person in the store, or through whatever channel you're utilizing, they are getting a very consistent messaging and branding presence. And also, the work that they're doing on one channel will influence what you might serve them on another channel, so that it becomes a very personalized, customized experience for your prospect. Why does it matter today? Customers become more demanding all the time, and they don't like to be overtly marketed to. And so what we're trying to do is create as frictionless and as customized and as sort of unimposing, easy to interact with customer experience that you can possibly create. And by doing this intentionally and by utilizing the technologies that are now available to small and medium-sized companies, you are able to create that in a way that it used to only be available to much larger firms. So that's why we're trying to do it. And doing it this way enables small businesses to compete with much larger companies. So what makes it work? It's really something where you need to have all of these different tools and channels available. So you need to have a good CRM system that tracks who your prospects are and what their engagements have been like with you. You need to have a website that's linked to that CRM. You need to have tools in terms of social media tools, meaning channels that you're trying to utilize, email, texting, banner advertising, your website, able to be customized to the customer. So we actually have tools that we use with our customers that change the nature of the homepage or the landing page that the customer comes to, depending on what we know about them that's in our customer database. And this is a tool that is utilized by companies less than 50 million in revenue, less than 10 million in revenue. They just have to have enough traffic and have the tools in place to make that customization happen. So I mean, this is not in the future. This is today. And customers are much more likely to purchase from businesses that provide that personalized experience than if they didn't. So what's the real world impact of that? I talked about this a little bit prior to that. You're going to have greater customer retention. You're going to have a shorter sales cycle. You're going to have a higher close rate, and you're going to have higher pricing. So all of that together adds up to a much better return on investment for businesses utilizing this type of methodology. So in the long run, it makes sense to do this because you're only going to help the business from a marketing standpoint. So that's what are we looking at with that is what is omnichannel marketing? Let's talk a little bit about how the customer journey has evolved. Are you going to talk about this section?
I am going to talk about this section. I think this is so fascinating. And I think for us to best understand how and why we should be leveraging all of the tools that you just mentioned, Dan, it's important for us to understand kind of where we came from. It will also help us understand where we're going. So let's harken back to 70 years ago. When we think about the customer journey, this was highly dominated by a select number of channels. When we see television, radio, and newspaper here, there was maybe one or two, if we think about outdoors, maybe the fourth edition. The vast majority of marketing messages were placed within these mediums. It also meant advertisers and companies were having one-way conversations with their consumers. when we look at how consumers were ultimately engaging with different media types, the selection was limited. And so when we think about traditional media, on average, consumers were spending about 8 hours a day with these channels. So I would say it made it, in some ways, easier for brands to identify which channels they should be placed on and more defined in how they were speaking directly to the consumer. But it gave the consumer very little control over their experience and the companies they ultimately engaged with.
Next slide.
Yes, please. So we start to see this change a little bit with the introduction of cable. So what was originally a very linear journey with that end consumer starts to see the emergence of fragmentation and the inclusion of choice within that consumer journey. So we start to see broadcast television seeing some diversification. By 1992, about 60% of households were using cable. They were able to choose their channels and set these are going to be some blast from the past acronyms, but the introduction of VCRs and then later DVRs, folks choosing how and when they engaged with this content, start to give the consumer a little bit more control over their experience. So what we've seen now in most recent years is multi-channel marketing and multi-channel engagement with what everything Dan was just outlining for us. And we see consumers engaging with different platforms, screens, and channels at one time. So by 2025, this is such an interesting stat, and Dan and I were chatting about this just the other day. Streaming has officially overtaken broadcast and cable as the primary TV consumption mechanism. This is so important for brands and companies to understand for a number of different reasons. One, it allows you to be really pinpointed in the end consumer that you're looking to reach. And this medium is significantly less saturated than we saw in previous years with traditional broadcast television, for instance. So what we're seeing now is an engaged consumer that is looking for a two-way conversation with companies and brands, so they have more input and control over that story, if you will.
Yeah, I think this is so fascinating because as a marketer, I see this now where I will be watching, we have Hulu, and we'll be watching the Today Show or something on ESPN or something like that we used to watch on cable, or we, you can watch the same show on a broadcast, through rabbit ears into your home, and we'll get to a moment when they have a advertising break, and it'll say if the advertising time has not been bought, it will just have an image and it says commercial break. Yep. And this is on ESPN, on like a huge sporting event, or on the Today Show, one of the the biggest TV shows out there in terms of viewership. And what it tells me is that marketers aren't even aware that they could be serving ads to people. The other one that's interesting is, like, the other day I was trying to find somebody to help me. I need to move a thermostat on a wall, and I'm not doing it because I'd break something, but I wanted to hire an electrician. So I went to TaskRabbit. Have you ever been to that site? To find somebody that could do it for me? Yep. Guess what I got ads for the next 2 or 3 days on Hulu? Yep. TaskRabbit. Yep. They captured me, and they were able to identify my IP address, and they were able to link into my television, and serve me ads. And so this exists for small, medium-sized companies. You could be serving people ads on the Today Show, because other people aren't buying it. And so there's this opportunity to move into this space that just, otherwise without this, you would not have been able to utilize that kind of audience. But now you can. Absolutely. And actually, Dan, I think everything that you're on, this visual to me is so indicative of everything that you just explained, and truly the expectation of consumers today. And that is a hyper-personalized experience that is relevant to their choices and needs in this moment. And when we talk about the facilitation of a two-way conversation between your target audience and your company, there's so much data available now to make that as seamless and pinpointed as possible. Really, what diversifies this journey from even the one that we just looked at is the introduction of AI, and having this experience happen in what feels like a virtually real-time environment
My example, Dan, is that when I'm looking for a product or service and I'm not sure exactly what I want yet, or I'm looking for other options, I will go through my social channels, for instance, and click on ads where I know I want to see more of that product. So
Right.
it is giving the consumer this level of control and engagement with brands so that they get exactly what they want or need when they want or need it. So
I love
interesting.
the notion that you can take control, you can fight back against the algorithms.
I'm leaning into the algorithm. I'm like, I really need some more options for these shoes. So I think it's important to know that 73% of shoppers will exhibit omni-channel behavior, and thus omni-channel campaigns convert at a higher, more efficient rate. So when you think about the value for your business, this makes your investments in marketing all the more efficient and then all the more relevant for your target consumers.
Yep.
This is my favorite graphic. So if we go all the way back to where we started, we were primarily engaged with a handful of channels having a one-way conversation with our consumer. And where we are now, again, is increasingly fragmented and diversified. So when we think about where we started, consumers were spending about 8 hours a day with a handful, 2 to 3 different media types. Now, users are spending about 7 hours a day consuming digital media specifically, which is a significant increase, especially with the introduction of mobile and streaming platforms. So it's important for us to know this because this is where and how our consumers are expecting us to engage with them today.
Yep. I laugh because the top graphic is my childhood,
Yeah.
and then the bottom one is my current reality. And boy, have they changed.
A little different, right? A little
Yeah.
different.
So let's talk a little bit about how the technology has evolved. And I can't remember, were you going to do this or was I going to do this?
I think this is you, Dan, but I'm happy you know that I won't be shy about my 2 cents.
This is true. Um, I'll do this, and you can, if I'm wrong, you can tell me where I'm wrong. How's that?
That sounds great. Sounds like a plan.
We are going from the mass marketing that we just talked about in the prior graphic to precision targeting, and the ability for this to happen. I mean, everybody, that's watching this has experienced that creepy moment where, they're like, how did they know I was thinking about that? Why am I getting that ad now? There's a great movie called The Great Hack, which is about the 2016 presidential election and the business called Cambridge Analytica, that talked about how there's over 5,000 data points specific to each one of us based on IP address, personal search history, your purchase history based on your credit card, using unique identifiers like your social security number, your driver's license number, your IP address. They're able to connect and just an enormous array of data about each one of us and then hyper personalize the advertising that we get, such that with AI and with the algorithms, they can now anticipate things. You could have somebody, buy a prescription for prenatal vitamins in February, and the businesses know that that person is likely going to start searching for like strollers in June, right? They don't even, people, how do the people know to serve them strollers? But because they know that the prenatal vitamin means that the person is, probably having a baby, they know to start serving them ads for the item that they might be ready to buy at some point in the future. That's just one example, and they get much more sophisticated than that. But that's the kind of thing that we are able to do now, is be very specific about who we're serving our ads to, such that they are serving them the right ad at the right time to the right customer. I used to work as a product manager for a number of years, and I would spend about $50,000 a month in mass print advertising, knowing that only 5% of the readership was my target customer. So I knew going out the door that 95% of my money was wasted. Now, if I'm advertising like that, $50,000, it's not going into print advertising. It's going into hyper-targeted omnichannel marketing. And I know that 100% of it is getting served to my customer. So it's a very different environment today for a marketer.
Dan, one thing that I'll just mention on that is data is so powerful, and it's not just tapping into third-party data sources from a targeting perspective. It's also leveraging the data that you have under your own roof as a company. Who have your previous customers been, and how can we go out and find more folks that look like that high-value customer for your business? So data, and I know you're going to talk about this here in a minute, but data from a targeting perspective is so important, and you as a business have access to so much of that can be leveraged across these channels. partners and platforms also have the ability to augment your data with other data sources. So it's so critical in identifying who is that best consumer.
I think the thing that is so sort of energizing about what we're talking about today is that the horsepower available to a small, medium-sized company is so enormous, and people don't have any idea how good it can get.
Yep.
So now to support all of this, we have marketing automation platforms, and so CRMs and CMSs, and then all the data analytics that we can generate, and enabling us to coordinate all of that so that we are able to build campaigns that are then customized to the buying journey that the customer is going along, such that you're serving them the right kind of information at the right time in their buying journey to move them along to the next step. So you're not giving them top of the funnel information when they're in the middle of the funnel, right? You're not serving them bottom of the funnel stuff right off the bat when they're not ready to buy, right? You need to nurture this person. You need to somewhat, excuse me, on some level, seduce this person to get them to trust in your business so that you can then, they'll choose to buy from you in the future. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, but.
I think this marketing automation really leans into kind of what we were just chatting about the instantaneous expectation of the consumer, that their expectation is that what they're seeing from brands is personalized or hyper relevant to them. And marketing automation really allows small and medium-sized businesses to do this quickly and at scale, which is so important for new customer acquisition and loyalty and retention and everything that you've touched on. So I agree with you, Dan. I think this piece in particular is so powerful for businesses to take advantage of. So,
and then what we've already talked about in terms of the advent of artificial intelligence and how it enables us to be predictive, this only gets more sophisticated all the time, so that we're able to continually learn how to better serve different pieces of marketing tools to our customers along the buying journey. But it's been shown time and time again, even in just a short period of time, that AI has really been utilized by marketers, that it's improving the performance of their campaigns. So much like what you're saying before, we don't want to lean away from it. We want to lean into this stuff because it's going to enable a business to get a real head start on its competition by utilizing that.
And I think data too isn't just about reaching audiences or identifying audiences or powering your campaign. Your point here, Dan, about predictive analytics, data is also about understanding what's working in your marketing mix and using that to inform how you optimize and continue to test and continue to grow. And my hot take on this is I think what we're ultimately going to see is AI is going to start to become more involved in analyzing performance and moving quickly to implement those optimizations. We see that now across digital platforms. Google is a really great example where some of their in-platform elements like Performance Max, for instance, is capitalizing on how quickly Google can analyze and implement data within campaigns and how that then impacts ultimate performance. So it's really interesting to see how, as marketers, we can not only read data more quickly, but then use it to our advantage.
So how do we utilize this from a attribution standpoint? So in the past, using Google Analytics, you would be able to understand what was the last piece of marketing that they looked at before they actually bought from you. And then you would give credit to the transaction to that one campaign, which so we call last click attribution. So like, did it come from a paid campaign? Did it come from a social media ad? Did it come from a visit to the website? Was it something where they were in a store? Who knows? Now, with the tools that we have, you can actually do what we call cross-channel attribution. And so you can get a sense of what is the shared contribution from each of the different campaigns to the eventual purchase that a customer makes. So this is something that really helps marketers from the standpoint that they make sure that they are making good investments in their marketing. Because you could look at programmatic media, for example, and say it doesn't help at all because we don't get a lot of conversions directly from it. But then if you use multi-touch attribution, and you can see how much awareness did the programmatic campaign drive so that the eventual purchase did actually get benefited by the campaign that was done at the top of the funnel. If you left it to last click attribution, you'd probably kill a lot of campaigns in the crib that were actually really helpful. All right. So how do these changes help small, medium-sized companies? Is this you?
I think it's still you, Dan. I'll be here.
I get all the fun stuff.
I'll be here with my 2 cents.
As always.
Yeah.
So as we said in the beginning, the beauty of this is we bring Madison Avenue to Main Street, and small, medium-sized companies, for a fraction of what they would have had to spend 5-10 years ago, can now compete directly with big businesses. You can advertise on ESPN, you can advertise on the Today Show, things that you wouldn't even be able to consider, but you have to be utilizing these tools correctly to do that. And so this has made, while people need to invest sufficiently, I would argue that most businesses underinvest in marketing, and to their detriment. They can do this in a way that's really cost effective. And so it makes your marketing able to be used more efficiently than you could have done before. Before you might have had to, you would have had to use too much of your budget, let's say, on top of the funnel or on content marketing. Now you can appropriately allocate the spend and monitor the efficiency and the return on investment to make sure that you are utilizing campaigns that are effective. So smarter targeting with fewer dollars. So we're just seeing this, time and time again, is that we get higher conversion rates doing this, and you can target more effectively. And then the analytics are really at the heart of this. And this is something that, we've talked about how we have cross-channel attribution, which is really something that's only become more available in the last few years. I think that, and this is just me philosophizing, but I think that one of the things that we will find really growing in this area is the ability to use analytics more and more effectively as we understand how to use these tools better and better, and how to coordinate the CMS and the CRM and the marketing automation systems across the company, and developing the tools and the campaigns and increasing their sophistication, but then watching the analytics to see those things. And then I would imagine you're going to see AI tools come into place all across this process to further improve the performance. I would imagine if there was sort of just on a side note, like if there was a new business opportunity in the marketing space, it would be figuring out how to apply AI across the process to drive better efficiency of marketing campaigns. Would be an area that, like, I'm sure investors would love to find opportunities to do that. So
Dan,
I don't know if you have thoughts on this, but
yeah, I think analytics and data is one of the most exciting evolutions for small and medium-sized businesses. And Google Analytics is actually a really great example. It was and is a free tool that Google created to provide insight into site performance and campaign performance. But historically, for those of us that remember Universal Analytics, Google had a pretty consistent tool that they didn't really touch or update for many years. And then a couple of years ago, they introduced GA4, which was a significant upgrade on historical Universal Analytics, and gives marketers more insight and available data and more dynamic reporting. And I think we're going to continue to see the evolution of data and how that's used to inform campaign performance and customer acquisition and some of these additional strategies. And I think data is going to get to a point where it is actionable. It's not just readable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
I
So
do. Yeah.
what's that?
Nope. I was going to say, I actually think it parlays really nicely too in how to execute omni-channel strategies, because I think these things will go hand in hand, but I talked right over you.
It's all right. That's the first time that's ever happened.
True.
All right, now let's talk about how do we execute on this. So, and this I know is you, because this is a slide you made. So
This is true. And we want to talk about executing omni-channel strategies in 3 main buckets. And as we go through these next couple of slides, I actually want to kind of invoke this idea of multi-touch attribution or multi-channel attribution, because what we have found implementing omni-channel campaigns for clients is that when these 3 stages are used effectively together, and Dan, the graphic you showed in the early part of the presentation with the funnel, we're such believers in that, because these things work holistically together to drive long-term lead health for businesses. And we find that when these 3 pieces are employed together and working cohesively, overall, we see a net impact in a positive way to campaign performance. So let's talk a little bit about awareness and how you can execute these campaigns and ultimately why it's important. So when we think about building awareness, this is really creating a pool of potential consumers that may not be ready to engage or buy today, but they will ultimately ultimately have a need, there we go, for your product or service long term. And Dan, I think you explained this in such an interesting way when we compare latent demand to active demand. And a strong awareness strategy is critical to turning that latent demand into active, engaged consumers. So what are the best ways to implement an awareness-based campaign? And we kind of look at this across a number of different channels with social media marketing or display advertising. These 2 platforms can be highly targeted and customized to your core consumer. Video marketing, I know we chatted about just the general availability, not only of eyeballs and consumers to be reached, but of space to be really efficient with your budgets. This is also a great area where content marketing can really inform these consumers. And there's also still a need and still engagement with traditional channels like TV, outdoor. They are absolutely still part of this mix overall and can complement some of these digital strategies. So just to kind of put a fine point on it from a statistic perspective, 72% of consumers prefer to connect with brands through multiple channels through making a purchase. We know that consumer journey is becoming even more fragmented. We saw that with that visual earlier on, and it's really important that you initiate these first touch points and build awareness so that consumers move through your funnel to conversion.
I think it's really interesting to look at this, and traditional media is actually something that you can do somewhat programmatically, in that you can be walking through an airport and your phone triggers a kiosk that has an image on it, and it serves you an image that's relevant to you and because it knows your phone, and something that somebody else walks by it and sees something completely different. So we're talking about outdoor here. We already talked about television, how using CTV channels, you can serve ads very specifically to your target customer in a way that you couldn't have done before, and you never would have spent the money on it. But now you can control your budget, and you can control who it goes to, and you can get the impressions you want. The other part that's interesting to me when I think about this is, in the past, I used that example of the $50,000 spent on print advertising in a month. My client, only 5% of my client was that spend. But then also, I knew they were only going to see my ad once, and they couldn't interact with my ad. Now, when we do awareness building activities and campaigns, that same amount of money, I know 100% is going to go to my customer, and I also know that my customer is going to interact with it 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen times in a month in a variety of different modes. So social media, video, banner ad, television, it can be a variety of different places, but they're going to see it, and they're going to see it in all these different places, and they can interact with it. So you can actually, click on the ad that you see, or you've got it on your phone and you can immediately go to the website or something like that. That didn't exist 10 years ago. So that to me is like, when we look at awareness, it's awareness that starts a conversation with the customer.
Yep, exactly. And actually parlays into what happens at the middle of the funnel. So if awareness is starting the conversation, consideration or education engagement, this middle of the funnel section is continuing that conversation and sort of pulling that consumer into that 2-way back and forth. So we've started the conversation, we've built that initial awareness. We want to continue to educate them about our products and services and sort of pull them through that journey. I would say on average, this is probably kind of the most variable, depending on type of business, type of consumer, on on how long a consumer is in this phase of the funnel. For B2B businesses, for instance, there's a lot of time spent here on the consumer side researching and learning about products and services. Whereas if you're a direct-to-consumer product-based business and your price point is smaller, folks tend to move pretty quickly between awareness, consideration, and ultimately conversion. But there's a lot of interaction at this stage between outward-facing media. If we think about mid-funnel social media strategies, for instance, or personalized email alongside your owned channels. So this is really where tools like marketing automation and defined landing pages and websites become critical to move alongside that two-way conversation that we've been talking about. It's also important to have content that is, again, educating that end consumer. So as we, again, kind of to put a fine point on it with this stat here, omni-channel customers have a 30% higher lifetime value than those who shop using only one channel. So when we think about the value of that in the mid-funnel, if they learn more about your product or they're better educated about the services that you can offer, they're likely to engage at a higher level.
You know, when you talk about the educator or educating the customer, to me, that's the dominant paradigm that I think marketers need to conceive of themselves and what they're trying to do in their role for their company. In this day and age of marketing, their customer, their target customer has a problem that needs a solution, or they have a generic service or product that they're trying to buy, and they have all kinds of questions about that purchasing decision. And if you can get in front of them before your competition does, and not try and sell them, but try and educate them about that buying decision and all the things that they need to consider in it, you can gain their trust. And that's what you're really trying to do in this middle part of the funnel, is develop trust and educate them on their buying decision, which means you need to take the role of a teacher, which is very different than the marketer of 10, 15, 20 years ago, which I compare to being a carnival barker, where you stand up on a stool and yell as loudly as possible and hope that your customer is within earshot and that they are drawn to you by what you're talking about. But there's no educating going on in that scenario. Whereas today, you're now the teacher in the classroom, teaching this classroom of your prospects about what it is that they have to decide. And the sooner people put themselves in that frame of mind as a marketer, I feel like the better they become at doing omni-channel marketing and frankly doing their job as a marketer for their company.
It's such a good analogy, Dan. I think we can even take that classroom idea a step further. You know, your awareness marketing brought those students to the classroom. They're interested in the topic you're looking to instruct on. They're sitting here and they want to learn more about what you have to say. Whereas the carnival barker, the mental image that induces is hilarious. You know, you're somebody shouting at you and you're walking by, and it's almost more disruptive than it is educational. So I think it's a really great analogy for how these pieces all work together.
I also think you can see this very clearly, particularly in search today with the advent of AI, because in a research kind of query that you're putting into a search engine today, the result you will get is at least on Google, will be an AI overview, which is drawn from a number of different sources. And you can actually click on the link in the AI overview, and you'll see an image of the pages that it's drawing from on the right-hand side. And you can choose to go to those. And then below that, there will be some results about, you know, pages for this, or an ad for a company that fits the query. But then you'll have those, you know, the drop-down arrows where it'll have a question that's related to the query you're making. And you can drop that down and it will have more explanation. The content that our clients, we work with our clients to write for them in this middle of the funnel type of work, is the answers that would fit into the overview and the answers that would fit into the drop down arrows to answer the questions that the customer has. If you're looking and you're a marketer watching this today and you're trying to figure out what should I be doing in content marketing, do research by putting in queries that you think your customer is going to ask to make a buying decision, and see what the answers are, and see the quality of the content that the search engine is bringing back. And then you want to make answers to those questions, and you want to look at the quality of that content, and you actually want to make your content better than that content, such that the search engine will use your content as opposed to somebody else's. But that is when we talk about content marketing and we talk about making somebody a thought leader, we're talking about doing this work right here in the middle of the funnel, answering questions about the buying decision and developing trust with the customer. So,
Absolutely. Could not agree more.
all right, let's talk about the bottom.
Let's talk about the bottom. So this is really back to your earlier point, Dan. This is capturing that active demand. Now, it's important to remember these three pieces all work together. And if we've done our jobs well in bringing the students to the classroom and educating them in the classroom, it's going to improve our overall performance at the bottom, and we'll have more active demand to capture here at the bottom. So this is really where you want to be available when somebody is searching for your product or service. You also want to continue to re-engage them to convert them more quickly. So this is really where we see the interaction of tools like paid and organic search. Dan, to your point, if somebody's going to Google and entering a product or a keyword or a phrase that's relevant to your business, you want to be there to convert them into a lead or a customer. This is also where tactics like retargeting are so valuable. If somebody's been to your site or expressed interest in your product or service, you want to stay in front of that person until they either opt in or opt out. And ultimately, we want to increase the likelihood that they're opting in and growing that lead base for your business. Now, again, important to note that these three pieces all work holistically together, especially when it comes to long-term strategies. If we focus on awareness and engagement, we will continue to drive efficiency and higher performance at the bottom of the funnel. Even though, coming back to your last click attribution discussion, this is oftentimes where a lot of marketing credit is attributed is to these bottom funnel channels because they are more one-to-one with lead generation. But all three are working together to make this last piece the most effective.
I think this part's also, so one is very interesting in that you want to have something to capture people that you didn't capture in the top and the middle of the funnel. Yep. Because the goal with Omnichannel is to take those people off the table so that they never even come to this part of the funnel, right? But you need to continue to execute at this part of the funnel because this is a great way to reinforce the power of your brand with the customer. If you are doing a good job at the bottom of the funnel and somebody is putting in a buying search, so best plumber near me, right? As opposed to how to pick a plumber. How to pick a plumber is the middle of the funnel search, but buying the service or buying the product. When you appear in the ad, and you appear in the organic search, and if it's a local business, you appear in the local listing, suddenly the client is seeing you, your prospect is seeing you in a number of places. And when it sees you in multiple places, it reinforces with them that you are a legitimate company to be taken seriously. And so you don't want to quit and not execute at this part of the funnel. By executing across all of these campaigns for the right terms. You don't spend on everything, but the ones that are going to drive conversions, you just further reinforce your brand that you've been establishing and developing trust with them up above. This just reinforces it even further with them when you are appearing in organic search, paid search, local search. You are targeting them and they're getting emails from you. They're seeing you in social media, right? This is sort of the cherry on top from a sort of marketing branding standpoint.
Absolutely. And you mentioned this earlier, Dan, you want your brand to feel trusted and familiar. And when consumers get to this stage in the funnel, they want to engage with brands they feel are trusted and familiar. So it is just an important capture point to be in front of those folks that are engaging on these channels.
Yeah. So I believe that's everything we were going to cover today. So first, thanks for joining us. Second, we do have a few questions from the audience. Do you have some time to answer some questions, Lauren?
Yes, absolutely. Love a question.
So let me see what I got here. How would you say, this is the first one was, how do you say we define success in omnichannel marketing if you're a small, medium-sized company?
It's a really good question. My general advice is First, start with your historical data. Where have you been up until this point? Look at things like site traffic and how much people are engaging with you on your website. I would also suggest measuring each stage of this funnel individually. So really identifying what would qualify as an awareness metric, things like impressions or reach and frequency. And then that big middle, how do we gauge success and engagement, is things like clicks or visits to the website or new users or new traffic or lift in organic traffic or direct search. And then bottom funnel performance, there we go, is more in line with things like leads generated or calls initiated or quality leads initiated. And then really overarching, do we see lift in the business overall? Are you seeing more leads, more quality leads? Are you seeing revenue growth, return on investment? So definitely suggest measuring them individually, but how do they collectively lift the business overall?
Thank you.
Anything you'd add, Dan? Did I miss anything?
Um, I think that this is something that we take what we call a crawl, walk, run approach with our clients, where we start with campaigns at the bottom of the funnel, where we're trying to drive conversions, because small, medium-sized businesses, their first priority is revenue growth and lead gen. It will, as we layer in the other parts, it will really help develop the overall effectiveness of the marketing campaigns and the marketing function as a whole, which will drive the ultimate goal, which is really increasing the enterprise value of the business. But we start small with lead gen, and then we move back. And there's at the end of the day, you got to grow the value of the business. But as you were saying, like, you have to measure the campaigns as a whole or individually, and then also look at them as a whole. And so we then move back into more awareness building campaigns and content marketing to try and drive awareness and see what kind of engagement we're getting. And then as we see the campaigns that are working really well, we can decide where to make the investments. And so you have to look at the metrics that are specific to each campaign, and then determine, are they fitting the needs that you have as a business? And it's not a one size fits all solution. Every business is and every market's going to be different. And you have to, you can't throw a switch and make it work. You've got to do some testing and evaluation and looking at the campaigns on their own, and then looking at them in total. What we like to look at is, for the top and middle of the funnel activities, the goal is to build a database of targeted customers that you can then monetize.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, you're actually trying to build an asset that can go on the balance sheet.
Yeah.
In the bottom of the funnel, you're trying to build search volume and conversions from there. And that is also, at least the organic search portion, is another asset that can go on a balance sheet. But that's ultimately what you're trying to drive there. It's just more people, more eyeballs on the website that are converting into customers. But success is defined in stages.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So, all right. Second question was, how do you determine which channels are right for your audience, in the case of each individual client?
Also a very good question. My thoughts on this are, start with your consumer. Who is your buyer? Who is your consumer? And where are they at online? There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. Some of this is just some light research. Some businesses have invested in audience modeling and database modeling. And so there's a broad range of how to ascertain this. But when we think about streaming TV, that was a really good example. We know that audiences are there. So think about where your consumer is and look to intersect them from a media standpoint. Think about how consumers are consuming media and be where they're at, meet them where they're at, online or offline, as the case may be.
Excellent. Thanks. And then I think we have time for one more. This one is more of an execution question, but which tools or platforms do you recommend to execute and manage an omnichannel campaign? Are there any affordable options for mid-sized or B2B businesses?
Absolutely. I would say, think about, and Dan, you sort of just alluded to this, as if you start at the bottom of the funnel and work your way up, knowing that all elements of the funnel are important. everyone is searching. Everyone is on Google. In many instances, people are on Bing. And so how do you capture that user as they're proactively searching for your offerings and execute campaigns across Google and Bing? Social media is another really effective, efficient channel, whether that be Meta or LinkedIn or Reddit. That's one that we're hearing a lot these days, is businesses exploring Reddit as a channel. But additionally, tactics like connected and streaming TV are becoming even more approachable for small and medium-sized businesses, and having access to that through partners or through platforms. Programmatic is actually a really effective way to be efficient with budget, identify your right audience, and help build awareness in some of those channels. So I would say in many ways, prioritizing digital allows you to be very pinpointed, effective, and efficient. But to your earlier mention too, Dan, there are some channels like out of home has gone into the digital world and can be pinpointed and targeted alongside traditional digital channels. So there's a lot of ways that you can kind of work those together. Again, kind of thinking about the audience side of things, where's your audience, and then layering those tactics alongside them. But digital is a really good starting place.
It's interesting. When I heard this question, I was thinking differently and from the standpoint of like tech stack.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
Because, I think of, when I think of the tech stack that we want to work with our clients. So they need to have a marketing automation system. They need to have a CRM system. They obviously have to have those things talking to Google Analytics,
Yeah.
And the Search Console. They have to have Google Ads connected into all of that. The social media platforms have to be appropriately connected into all of this. The interesting thing to me is, it's like Salesforce came along many years ago. And first was a small business tool, and then it went up market, and now it's an enterprise tool, and it's extremely expensive. And HubSpot came along and was trying to replace the Salesforce for the small, medium-sized business. And that's now moving enterprise. And so it's getting really expensive. There are other tools like Pipedrive, Go High Level, Insightly, that people can use for not only the CRM, but the marketing automation system. I think having the marketing automation system and the CRM connected, or ideally in the same platform, is much better than having them be separate.
Agreed.
And then you just need to make sure that they are connected to your website and connected to analytics and ads, and all of these pieces are talking to each other together. Because once all that data is collected in the CRM system, not only are you tracking prospects, but you're also tracking customers.
Yeah.
And it gives you the opportunity to cross-sell and upsell. You're not only trying to sell the new business, but you're trying to cross-sell and upsell the current business.
Yeah.
We all know how, it's much more effective to, keep a client than get a new one. It's also more effective to upsell a current client than it is to try and sell a new one. And so, to me, the beauty of this is you can build a WordPress site for, a few tens of thousands of dollars, not for the types of businesses we're talking about, not huge investments. E-commerce gets more expensive, obviously. And so I don't want to make it sound like the website's trivial, but you don't need to have somebody do a custom, coded site from the ground up. You can use an existing CMS platform, like WordPress, to build a very effective marketing tool for the business. And then you can connect it to a CRM marketing automation system that's going to cost you $100 a month. Like, you don't need to spend a lot of money on this stuff, but you need these pieces to do omnichannel marketing.
Agreed. Totally agreed. Great
So.
insight, Dan.
All right. Well, as always, Lauren, it's a pleasure spending time with you. Thanks for that. We need to wrap up. I know we have other questions, but we'll have to save those for another time. If you need to reach us, you can reach me at dan.smink@refractroi.com. And we're happy to answer questions that you might have. But thanks for your time today. It was a pleasure spending the last hour with you. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me.
See ya.
That's all. Thanks, team.
Awesome, guys. That was great.
Yeah. That went well.
Yeah, you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
The only thing I'm annoyed with is I didn't get all of those text boxes out of all the slides.
Oh no, I
Did you
didn't
see me,
even
did you see
like.
me clipping them out
I
along the
saw
way?
you on the last slide, but that was the only one
That was
I.
like the fifth one I did. I was like, but what are you gonna do? So we have this deck now.
Yes.
And I mean, I thought it went really well.
Yeah. Agreed.
We'll get all kinds of great nuggets out of it, I think.
Mhm.
And if we have to do it again, we can do it again. So
Sounds good.
yeah. I wanted to ask one, I'll send this, you can have a copy of it and use however you want.
Thank you.
But next month or sorry, 2 months from now, we're doing site structure and content development for SEO and paid search.
Okay.
Do you think Sam would be a good person to do that with?
I can talk to him. I do have to hop for a
I'd love
call.
to have an expert. Like I had somebody do paid search with us,
Yeah.
and I love just like this interplay, like,
Yeah.
you know, with us bringing somebody from outside in.
Yeah.
I think it would be really nice if that's something that he wanted to do and felt comfortable with.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it would be too much. I mean, was this a lot of work to do?
No, definitely. I'm so sorry. I do have to hop for a call, but I can
Okay.
talk to him, Dan, and I'll let you know for sure.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll see you around.
Bye, y'all.
Doing. Sweet.
Yeah, I think it worked for the
I think it
purpose that
worked.
we have.
Yeah, absolutely, it worked. It was interesting, the entire thing.
Awesome. Well,
So,
I appreciate you coming. I'm going to take the recording,
okay.
send it to Stephanie,
Yep.
and say, can you turn this into a webinar?
Yep.
I'll send it to you too. Let's just watch over it and pick 3, 4, 5 sections that we think are like, what is omnichannel marketing? How do I
Okay.
execute omni? You know what I mean? And we can turn this into the shortened videos
Are you thinking for the website? Is that what you're thinking?
for the website, for sharing on social media.
Okay.
You know, we should be in the same way that we're pumping out, you know, the blogs, pumping out those videos on LinkedIn.
I agree.
We can also do it in all the, I think we should do it in all of the media, but LinkedIn most especially, pump these out, and get them in front of people. Because back to the thing I sent to you about Dean,
Yeah.
he's promoting on LinkedIn.
I noticed that. I registered for his event. Like everything's on LinkedIn. Like the entire ecosystem that he built.
Did you see how many registrants he has?
Oh, I didn't.
140.
Dang.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So nothing against Eli, but like, I'm not going to keep sucking at this.
Right.
So,
Makes sense.
yeah. Anyway, all right. Cool. Well, all right. I'm gonna run.
Okay.
Anything else?
Hammond's gonna pay their invoice today.
Awesome. Let's fucking kick some ass on their behalf.
So yeah,
Which I know we will do.
They're just trying to sort it out right now, but I sent the email first thing, essentially like, we're all set to go as soon as you pay.
Yeah.
Essentially what I said.
We'll get it. I mean, we will win her over. Same way we will win. I think we will win over Hillsborough.
Hillsborough? Yeah.
Yeah. I do think this is actually something that in those videos, like I want to make like why our clients aren't in these calls, in these webinars is strange to
I
me.
know. I was listening to this one and I had that same thought. I went, man, like if like Brian and Catherine listened to this, it would make so much more sense for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we need to find a way, we need to look at the client contact info and see if it's in Go High Level.
Yep.
When we share these to make
Probably
sure that
not.
it's served to them. When we are promoting this, we need to make sure that the clients are seeing this. When we are pushing out, they should be getting the newsletter. They should be getting the videos, and we push out the videos.
Yep.
Like, if they're not getting it, Jesus Christ, what the fuck are we doing?
I know.
So, anyway, So yeah, and it's something I know I've tried to do, but I haven't closed the loop on it. So
Okay.
I'm like, I was just thinking about this. I'm like, why don't I have my clients in this call? This is what I want them to do.
Yeah. I wonder.
We can always still promote it to them afterwards. Say, hey, just want to share this webinar in case you missed it.
That's what I was thinking. Let's try to get the clients to join the webinars. But if they're not joining,
They still
maybe
get
we do something else and reposition it as like that's part of the service we offer. We, you know, you have access to Dan, and he's going to walk you through strategic positioning.
So one thing I've wanted to do longer term is our target customers 10 to 50 million in revenue, right? That's who we want our operations team handling. For the under 10 to 50 million, or the people that aren't willing to spend too much on marketing right away, I want there to be an academy
Yep.
where people sign up for $97 a month, right? And for that, you get, you know, one conversation with a digital strategist a month for 30 minutes. And you get access to all of these videos and all of these tools related to the videos so that you can put together your messaging, put together your keyword research, put together, you know, your marketing economics, plan your SEO, plan your paid search campaign, plan your website development. Okay, how am I going to do omnichannel? How am I going to do programmatic? How am I going to do paid? How am I going to do whatever it is, right? But they can participate in that and utilize those tools, and then they get time with us. Either they pay for it, or you know what I'm saying. Like, we don't have to be too specific about this, but
I
we're
like
building this.
I love it
In a way to educate people that are, let's say they're only 2 million in revenue. They're not ready to do anything yet, but they want to get better.
Yep.
And so we just have the academy.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea. I mean,
So
it's just passive income.
yeah, and you're just nurturing people down the funnel. Right?
Yeah,
and you're making, like, our product isn't fit for the $10 million or for the $2 million business,
right.
But they can use this.
Yep.
Make better buying decisions.
And all you need is one to go from academy to full scale, and then it's all worth it.
Yeah. So
it's just
anyway, so that's. I mean, I'm building this. I mean, I want to keep doing the webinars because I want to build the content that's going to feed the book. Because down the road, like, I see us taking each of these videos, take the transcripts from them, hand them to some ghostwriter, and say, "Here, write a book.
Perfect.
These are your 9 chapters." And then, but then also the dual purpose is this is the building blocks of the academy.
Yep.
So anyway, all right, man. We both got to run. Hey,
All right, man.
have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep.